Thor Ragnarok is the 2017 sequel to Thor and Thor the Dark World. It's the 17th installment of the MCU. It was produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Motion Pictures, directed by Taika Waititi. Now, as we continue on our way to Avengers Endgame, we're pretty much really close to it. It is our time to review this film. Is it better than the previous films? Or is it something that needs to be forgotten? In the next couple of minutes, we're going to find out. The good. Chris Hemsworth is definitely great as Thor Odinson. We have seen the evolution of the actor and the character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the past 10 years. And it's always been really an experience. You know, every movie, every part that he has played, definitely he has grown as a character and as a person. And we love him more. You can see a more mature Thor in this film. And definitely you can see that evolution of the character. And it really feels familiar. And definitely he is the best part of the film. Tom Hiddleston as Loki is another highlight of this film. There's no denying that Loki is a very consistent villain in the MCU. We have seen more of Loki than any other villain here, more than even Thanos. And of course, he is very likable. He is mischievous. He is a liar. He's a cheater. And of course, everything that he's in the comics, he portrays here. What I like about Loki the most as a character, and even in the cinematic universe, but also in the comics, is that he is, sometimes he's a good guy, you know, sometimes he is the bad guy. He's an anti-hero through and through. And that's a reflection of Marvel Comics and the way they have always portrayed characters. You know, even good characters are not totally good, and villains are not always totally evil. And definitely that's something that you can see in this film. Here, he's very likable. He wants to do things his way. He's mischievous again, but at the end of the day, he does the right thing as well. So that's something that I really like about this film. Cate Blanchett as Hela is one of the greatest highlights of this film. She is good doing the part. She is definitely good. She is despicable. She's evil, but she's also funny and sometimes relatable. And you like her, you know. She's definitely is the whole package. She's a great actress. I love her in so many movies, particularly when she portrays evil characters. She's very good at it. It's like she's in her element. That's something that she does very, very well. And she brings that into this film as well. And you really like her, you know, really like her. And in my opinion, she's one of the best, or perhaps you can say the worst villains in the MCU. The rest of the cast is also fantastic. Anthony Hopkins is definitely the best Odin that we have seen in any format. He is definitely good portraying the character. He is a wise king going through his last days, and he has some of the more powerful lines in this film, the most compelling parts of the story, and definitely I like him. Idris Elba's Heimdall, he is given more camera time. I really like that because he's a good as the actor. He's portraying the character well, and here he is more compelling than before. Bruce Banner, in this case the Hulk, portrayed by Mark Ruffalo, I really like him as a character. He has a really funny, hilarious time with in this case Thor, and you really love him as the character. Tessa Thompson portraying Valkyrie, she's a newcomer, but she brings a lot into the table, and I really like her. Her cynical attitude, her strength, and also some of those more weak elements of her are really great. She does the job, and she really portrays the character so well. We have Jeff Goldblum as, in this case, as the Grand Master. He has some of the funny lines in the story. Some people are saying, or would say, that he actually portrays himself, and I would agree with that to a certain extent. But definitely he is very funny, and he really gives those funny lines in the film. I really like him. And you also have Karl Urban, portrays the Scourge. I really like him. He is more like a funny character here, like a little clownish. But I really like him, and definitely portrays the character as we know from the comics. You know, he was never really too serious, and nobody really took him seriously till the end. And definitely in the film, they kind of portrayed that part so well. The movie takes great inspiration from Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's original The Mighty Thor run. And you see it everywhere. Particularly, you're a fan of Jack Kirby, you're going to see the visual references in every aspect of this film. You're going to see that in the color, you're going to see that in the costumes, and the design, and the buildings, and the apparatus, and everything. You know, everything, spaceships, all of that, it takes inspiration from what he did with the character, and also inspiration from not only the Mighty Thor, but also the Eternals, and some other different projects that he did, you know, multiple projects that he did. You can see that inspiration. And, you know, the director mentioned this before, that he was taking inspiration from, you know, Kirby's work. But also you see inspiration taken from Walt Simonson's acclaimed run in the 80s, which is my favorite. You know, Walt Simonson, to me, is the person that defined Thor for the generations to come, for me in particular. But also you see, in this case, references to the Planet Hulk, the 2006 story arc, that is very acclaimed for younger generations. Definitely you see all of this combined together. There's so many visual references here, and definitely it was handled, you know, properly, and it was, you know, well taken care of. And I really like that. Definitely they did a fantastic job in doing this in this film. The film has a great balance of action and comedy. And to me, that's very refreshing. There are hilarious moments in this film, like I mentioned before, between Hulk and Thor, but also between Thor and other characters. There are really hilarious moments in this film, and I love it. They did a fantastic job balancing it out. You know, it is known, of course, as we've seen in the past with Thor films. The first Thor film was very classic in his construction. A classic story of a classic tale. Thor the Dark World was more like going into the Walt Simonson's mythological take. There's a lot of mythological take, but it's a bit more serious and a bit dry. But now in this film, definitely they make it more hilarious. It's funnier. You know, there's more comedy in it. And you know what? It fits the character as a glove, particularly when you're looking at it from the perspective of the MCU. You know, Chris Hemsworth has a comedic side, and he has portrayed the character with a comedic side throughout the films. Here it's well fitted. You know, it fits like a glove, and definitely I love that. The movie is visually stunning. It's beautiful to watch. I love it when you don't see the CGI. You know there's CGI, but you don't see it. And in this film, you hardly see it. It's not visible. So it plays really, really well throughout. Action scenes, you know, everything. There's a lot of images here and there, a lot of Easter eggs, so much stuff that it makes it so beautiful, but it's not crowded. And it's not, it doesn't overtake the view. You really concentrate on what you're watching, and I really love that part. Some movies you feel that it's overcrowded with so much imagery. Here it doesn't work that way, and I really like that. They did a phenomenal job doing that. Also, the soundtrack is great. It's phenomenal. It's right on point. Particularly, I love Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song when it plays on the action scenes at the beginning of the film and by the end of the film. It's just on point. I love it. My wife loves it. It's just right on point. They did a phenomenal job. The director did a phenomenal job in pretty much stitching everything together so well with his team. The bad. There's not much to dislike about this film, but for the sake of this review, it needs to be mentioned. There's a couple of things. For starters, or the one that really bothers me the most is the fact that Lady Sif is never mentioned and the ultimate demise of the Warriors 3. As a comic book fan, I love these characters in the comics. They are a big part of Thor's mythos. The fact that they get rid of them just like that, it's you know, it is a disappointment, and definitely Lady Sif, because you know we saw her in the first two films, and now we don't know where she's at. And of course, the Warriors 3, they died without even throwing a fight. So it's just something that you have to take in mind. Of course, this is an entire different universe, play with different rules, but you know, that doesn't mean that as a comic book fan I don't feel disappointed like most comic book fans. As mentioned before, the film takes great inspiration from you know, the comics, but it's not a direct adaptation of any particular story. It's a new thing. I find it refreshing. I like that. But I know, but for some people, it is a tough pill to swallow because they were expecting something closer in element or in writing to the Ragnarok story in the comics. And I understand that as a comic book fan. And for some, it might be a nitpick. For me, it's a nitpick. But for others, it's something that is really, cardinal sin, particularly in this type of films. So, I'm pointing this out just for, in this case, for safekeeping, for information purpose, not necessarily because I feel that it's something that is so bad within this film. Also, the comedy in this film may rub some people the wrong way. And to me, it's okay. I love the comedy, the level of comedy that they injected in this film. But for other viewers, it might be too much. And I understand their position. It's a nitpick for me. But for others, it's something that is too much to handle, particularly in this type of stories. In my opinion, they manage it well. But, of course, some might disagree with my assessment. In conclusion, I truly love Thor Ragnarok. It is a phenomenal film. It feels so familiar, but also is very unique. No matter the turns of events, no matter how they change some of the elements of the story, he's still the same Thor I know from the comics. And I love that. He has the same core elements that make him so great. He is the son of a king that loves people more than himself. He's the god of thunder that finds that the source of his power is within himself. So all these elements are great for families, great for children. And definitely there are great lessons in this film for everyone. It's a very enjoyable experience with powerful lessons. And I love every minute of it. It is the same Thor I've read throughout the years. Although the story is different in some ways, it's still the same Thor that I care about. And I wouldn't be more pleased than this. So if I have to give this film a final score, I would say it's 9 out of 10. Definitely, it's one of my favorite films in the MCU, one that I highly recommend to anyone, one that I constantly watch and never get tired of watching. It has everything to me that makes it a good film, all the elements that I care about when I'm watching movies. So definitely, I highly recommend it. But what is your opinion? Do you like Thor Ragnarok? Do you hate Thor Ragnarok? You okay with it? It doesn't bother you at all? You prefer the first two? Please let me know. I would like to hear your opinion. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification button so you're reminded of the next video. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. And also, please consider supporting me financially. You can do that through Patreon, PayPal, and GoFundMe. All the links are down below. So once again, thanks for watching. God bless you, and I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.